Hi, and we're back for science. And again, we are focusing on subject areas that you will see on your test. So we're going to talk about natural resources and how our lives are affected by them, uh, how we use and how we can use them for our benefit, and then also talk about natural resources, how they can affect our lives in a detrimental way. Uh, but we will first talk about what natural resources are, why they are important, and how we have an impact on them. So let's get started. I think I'm going to start with our video, and we've got a video which talks about natural resources. And I think that's where we're going to go. So let's take a look at our video. Where is the. Okay, there's a problem. One second. Mm, One moment. Let's stop that. Okay, I'm sorry about that. And what I want to do is start it over. Let's take a look, you guys. There we go. I think that actually was very helpful. Um, I think that actually was very helpful. And he did was define very well what natural resources are. And so let's take a look at some of the highlights. And what I actually have here is some simulated questions that you would see in relation to this on your task test. And I'm in Classroom, so you can make this larger to make it easier to read. But to quickly go back over it, a resource, quite simply, is anything that humans need to survive. There you go. Natural resources include air, water, soil, minerals, and energy. You know why we need air, water, um, soil grows our plants, uh, soil and minerals are naturally forming inorganic, not natural, substances, such as diamonds, copper, gold, talc, and energy resources include fossil fuels. We talked about those, flowing water, wind, solar power, and geothermal power, um, which is that nuclear, I believe. And so resources are renewable and non-renewable. Non-renewables resources took millions of years to form, such as fossil fuels, coal, natural gas, and oil. And guess what? When we've used the world supply of oil, there is no more. There is no more. So maybe we need to look at sources, other sources of energy, and we are doing that. Soil and minerals are non renewable as well. So renewable resources will never run out because there's unlimited supply, such as solar energy, because it comes from the sun. Um, also, energy sources using water power from rivers, tidal waves, ocean water, wind power, geothermal from the heat in the Earth's crust. Those are alternative sources of energy. And they're also called clean energy. So, what do we do as humans? We can harm and destroy these natural resources from overuse, from pollution. The scientists believe that we have already consumed between 1/10 and 1/4 of the world's supply of oil. The soil is subject to overfarming and erosion. The air is polluted by fossil fuels, and its ozone layer is depleted by the use of compounds called chlorofluorocarbons into the atmosphere. And they're in a lot of things we use that have aerosols, like hairsprays and things like that. The water is polluted by sewage, industrial waste, and in our agricultural urban runoff. You have to see what some of these islands look like in the Pacific that are just clogged with all of the world's plastic. It's just disgusting. So, conservation then is any action taken to preserve natural resources and protect the environment. And there are so many different ways that we are using conservation now. One of them is recycling, and the other is to use renewable sources of energy like windmills, agricultural methods that protect the soil, building water treatment and sewage treatment plants, the safe disposing of radioactive waste, and cleaning up areas that have been heavily polluted. So that, in a nutshell, is conservation. Um, these these ideas, the terms that are bolded, are the ones that kind of put them somewhere in your head and be like, okay, I know what that is. Renewable, non-renewable sources of energy. I know what those are. I know what Earth's resources are, natural resources, um, and conservation. So that's it. 5 terms. But the way you'll see this on your test, uh, they'll throw a graph at you, And it's not that you have to do all of this crazy computation in your head or anything, but they're going to have you do something like read a graph. Can you read a graph? And be warned that you may see a graph in science, reading, social studies, and math for sure. So always when you have um, a a graph, take a look at it first. Can I make this even bigger? Let's look at our graph. And our graph is giving us the world petroleum consumption between 2003 and 2011. And the unit are BTUs. Do I have to know what BTUs are? No. All I need to know is that I'm seeing this on a relative increase right here. Then we get to this year, 2017. There's a peak. 2007, between 2007 and 2009, there's a decrease and then an increase again. Okay. So British thermal units, that's a BTU. It's a measure of energy. Again, cool. I don't really have to know what that is. They didn't tell me what it was in the reading. I'm good. So let's take a look at the first question. How many quadrillion BTUs of petroleum were consumed in 2011? All right, well, here I am. And the first, question says approximately. I'm going to, in my mind, you can't write on the answer sheet, but in my mind, I'm going to underline that word because do I have to give an exact amount? No, I am going to estimate. So if I go to 2011, right here, boom, well, here's 175, and we're somewhere between 175 and 180, right? We're over 175 and we're less than 180. So how many? A says 160. That's way down here, but we're looking at 2011. That's not it. 170. No, we're above 170. We're above 175. So 174, no, because again, here's 175 and we're above that. So D, 177. That's my answer. And then let's look again. Between its low point in 2003 and its high point in 2011, what is the approximate range of data? Okay, regarding the world petroleum consumption in quadrillion BTUs. So let's look at 2003. We're at about what, 162. 2011, we're at about 177. So what do we say? Between its low point and between its high point, what is the range? What is one? And they said the approximate range. So we said what? 162 and 177. Okay, so I'm doing the math in my head. 62, 77 minus 62, 7 minus 2 is 5. So I'm saying 15, but they're saying approximate. So what number is closest to that? Because we're just giving the range, meaning how much did it grow between this year and this year, right? Boom. Then there are some other questions for you to look at. Which of the following sentences best, in my mind I'm highlighting best, summarizes the information in the graph? World petroleum consumption increased by about 14 quadrillion BTUs between 2003 and 2011. World petroleum consumption fell by about 4 quadrillion BTUs between 2005 and 2009. World petroleum consumption increased by roughly 50% between 2003 and 2007, and world petroleum consumption fell by roughly 50%. Okay, so if we're having for their best test tasting strategy, let's look. Now we just said that and we're looking at the math graph overall, world petroleum consumption increased by about 14 quadrillion BTUs, we're estimating, between 2003 and 2011. And that's our range, right? So we are seeing, for the most part, on this graph, boom, 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 an increase, correct? So yeah, that sounds good. I like answer A. What about B? World petroleum consumption fell by about 4 quadrillion BTUs between 2005 and 2009. So 2005, we're at about boom, 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 172 and 172 to 170, right? 2005, we're at about 172. 2009, we're at 170. So it fell by about 4 quadrillion. No. Let's look again. Just make sure that's not right. I mean, that's right. About 172, 173. No. And then world petroleum consumption increased by about 50% between 2003 and 2007. So 2003, it's at about 162. 2007, it's about at 175. So what I would do there is divide it by 2. 50%, you're dividing them in half, right? So 160 to 175 would be, let's take it real quick. 160 plus 175 equals 335 divided by 2 equals 167.5. Let's see where we are. Increased by about 50%. Where did we end up in that year? We end up there on between 2007. No. And the world consumption fell roughly by 50% between 2007 and 2009. 2007, it's at 175, and here it's at 170. So half of is about 80. So where did we go? No. So that answer is no. So I think the best one is going to be A, right? And then, which of the proverbs expresses the views of a conservationist? Remember, if you want to conserve something, you're wanting to save it. All that glitters is not gold? Nope. Every cloud has a silver lining? Nope. Oil and water don't mix? No. Waste not, want not, right? And then the overall demand for water in the developed nations is rising, but it's not rising as quickly as people had predicted it. In fact, the rate of water consumption per year in developing nations has dropped. And this means that even though the population has increased and industrial output has grown, the amount at which people take water from reservoirs, rivers, and aquifers has slowed down. What do you think a likely reason is for this drop in per person consumption of water is in developing countries? New supplies of water have been found in developed nations, vast new supplies. Developed nations have started using water more efficiently than they did in the past. Developed nations are sharing water resources with one another, or some developed nations export water to other nations that lack it. Well, we've talked about conservation of resources, right? So to protect water. And so what we have, we don't need to use as much. So I'd say in developed nations, those that have the resources are able to put more education technology toward conservation. And this one, soil erosion occurs when soil is worn away by natural action of wind, water, and ice, or deforestation and poor farming practices. If soil erosion continues as it is, we're going to lose 20% of farm topsoil and create deserts. So contour planting is planting trees to serve as windbreaks, and other techniques can all reduce soil erosion. Which one is supported by this information? All deserts originally formed as a result of soil erosion? I don't think they said that. All deserts. Most soil erosion is caused by poor farming. Most. Well, they said that some scientists estimate that the world lost about 20% of its topsoil between 1950 and 1990. And that is not the only cause of soil erosion, being worn away by wind, water, or ice deforestation. So that answer is not right. Improved farming techniques can completely halt soil erosion. Well, we've got contour plowing and other techniques can all reduce it. They said reduce. So that's not quite it either. So it looks like we did have to read through all of our answers. And then finally, soil erosion is caused by both natural forces and the actions of people. Well, it's caused by wind, water, and ice, and then deforestation and poor farming. So our best answer there is D. Now, I want to go back and check my work on two of our questions because we want to be sure, and then we're going to be done. Okay, so let's go back up real quick and go through question one. The answer is D, 177. Just read our map. Very good. Question two, the answer is B, about 14, which we said. And the answer three, World Petroleum increased by about 14. That's the best summary of the graph because it includes the topic of the graph, world petroleum consumption, and the amount by which consumption changed. Answer D. Answer 4 was D, waste not, want not. And that's the basic principle of consumption, decreasing waste. So we will still have what we need in the future. Question 5 is B. Developed nations have started using water more efficiently. People have learned to conserve water and they use water more smartly. D, soil erosion is caused by natural forces and the actions of people. So there we go. I hope that this is making sense to you. This is exactly how you're going to see these principles on the exam. I worked through it all so that you could have some understanding. And that is this lesson. We're going to move on tomorrow. Again, questions, concerns, thoughts, talk to a sister. Let me know something, okay? So that is all we have for today. And you all take care. Have a wonderful day.